ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Bills, Dolphins, AFC East family business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. You know what it is. Bills take care of business, run their record to 3-0. Meanwhile, the Dolphins drop to 0-3. They are in a very perilous state right now. But to the victors go the spoils. We start with the Buffalo Bills and them taking care of business tonight. It was not the prettiest nor the easiest at times. They made this game a lot harder than it had to be. The Dolphins did come out, make a statement on the opening drive, go down, score. So they let the Bills know that they were going to be in for a fight tonight. The Bills missed a field goal right before halftime that would have given them a 17-7 lead at half and maybe would have put them in a position to put a stranglehold on this game. That missed field goal then led to the Dolphins driving the length of the field and scoring a touchdown right before the half to tie the game at 14 and thus setting the stage for a close second half. But the Bills, as championship level teams do, kept their poise, made plays when plays had to be made, including a big Terrell Bernard interception late in the game as the Dolphins were driving for either the go-ahead score or the game-tying score, however they would have tried to play it down the stretch. They were down 28-21 at that time. Would they have gone for two? Don't know. We'll never know because Terrell Bernard picks off a Tua Tagovailoa offering, and the Bills then end up going down, getting a field goal, putting this game out of reach, which ended up being the final score of 31-21. So here's what I will say about Buffalo. The offense did enough tonight. They still feel like they're a little off. I still haven't felt like the passing game is where they want it to be quite yet. Josh Allen was really bad last week throwing the ball against the Jets. Didn't need to be great because you had James Cook, who right now feels like the MVP of this team. Not Josh Allen, but James Cook. Feels like this team would not exist at a high level without the play of James Cook right now. He's by far and away, to me, their MVP through the first 3 weeks of the season. He was huge in the comeback win versus Buffalo. That was more of a Josh Allen, MVP type performance, bringing them back in that game. But last week, it was all James Cook. And tonight, it was all James Cook, to be honest with you. Allen was a lot more efficient tonight than he was last week against the Jets. But the numbers weren't really there. And he did throw for 3 touchdown passes. And he had the little underhand shovel to Spencer Hawes. I got to stop calling this man Spencer Hawes. He's not an NBA player. Hawes, and I think his name's Jackson Hawes. But he had the underhand to Hawes, and he was, he threw, I think all 3 of his passes, touchdown passes, might have been the tight ends. Trying to think of who the 3rd touchdown pass was to. You know what? I think that one was to the receiver out of the backfield on a little swing up the sideline. So Allen was solid tonight, much better than he was last week. But the story remains for me on offense, James Cook. And he held out this preseason trying to get his money. Well-deserved, I may add. He's, to me, one of the premier backs in the NFL, and he continues to prove it on a week-in, week-out basis. Over 100 yards tonight. Another rushing touchdown added to the ledger. They couldn't stop him. He ate up yardage by the chunks on the ground in this game. The Dolphins struggled against the run in the first half last week against the Patriots. They struggled pretty much for the entirety of tonight's game against the run with James Cook. And good job by the Bills for sticking with the run, not getting away from something that was working so well. Sometimes these coordinators can get in their own way and not stick with what's working. James Cook was what was working tonight, and they stuck with him. He was really good for the Buffalo Bills. Defensively, they were without 2 of their better defenders. No Matt Milano, no Ed Oliver. And so I thought even without those guys, they did a solid job against Miami. Again, I think where the Bills are susceptible is in that secondary. And so I think you can, make some plays against them. Just like, for instance, the touchdown pass Tua threw before the half, that wasn't a one-step slant by Waddle. That was just a slant. Like, that was a no-step slant. Tua said hut, and he just ran straight across, right, at an angle, and like, I don't know what Tre'Davious White was doing, what he thought was coming. I don't know if he thought that he was going to run a whip route or something, but he just reacted to it so late. It was an easy pitch and catch slant. And there was no movement. There was no, one step outside jab, set him up, nothing. It was just straight to it. And so I think they're susceptible in the secondary. Tua had one of those Tua Tagovailoa-esque games where everything was underneath. It was a check down. It was a dump down. Tua stinks. And we'll talk about him when we get to the Dolphins. But I think this secondary is susceptible. I think there are opportunities against this Bills secondary. But Terrell Bernard came up huge with the interception. That was a massive play in this game, obviously, with the Bills clinging to a one-score lead, a touchdown lead at that point. Who knows what would have happened had the Dolphins been able to convert there, get that into the end zone? Would they have gone for two? Would they have elected to tie the game? Don't know, but that interception was massive. It stopped all momentum from the Miami Dolphins, and it also put them in the driver's seat to close the show, and that they did offensively. Obviously, the biggest play in the game is the roughing the kicker call. I don't love it. I'll be honest with you. I've seen a lot worse called for, running into the kicker instead of roughing. They don't like to assess roughing the kicker. They usually say that you have to hit the plant leg. I mean, he kind of took out everything. So I guess by the letter of the law, it was the right call. But I felt like he ran into his kick leg first and then kind of just bulldozed into the rest of his body. And I've seen kickers demolished, and they just called running into the kicker. It was 4th and 7. It would not have been a first down if it was simply running into the kicker. They called roughing the kicker. It was a tied game at 21 apiece at that time. The Bills were reeling because the Dolphins had gone down and scored a touchdown on the possession before. And so they had all the momentum. Now they're getting the stop and they're getting the football back. The Bills were in trouble. And that penalty felt like a get-out-of-jail-free card bailout. And they did what good teams do with second chances and a new opportunity. They took that opportunity and they deposited it into a touchdown. And again, good teams make you pay for making those types of mistakes. And Miami has been a team this season that had just not been able to get out of their own way. They've made these type of mistakes all season long. Penalties that negate big gains, penalties that set back promising drives and put them behind the sticks. And that might have been the biggest penalty of the season to date for the Miami Dolphins. That's a massive one because you could have started this season off 0-2, but if you go to Buffalo, a place that has just not been kind to you over the life of Mike McDaniel's coaching career, Tua Tagovailoa's starting career, if you go to a place like Buffalo and you pull off the improbable, I don't know what the odds were going into this game. I don't know how much the Bills were favored by. My guess is they were over a touchdown favorite in this game. My guess is they were probably like 7.5-point favorites. I could be off, give or take a point or two, either direction, right? They could have been 9.5-point favorites. They could have been 5.5-point favorites. My number is 7, right? But you go on the road as an 0-2 team against the best team in your division, arguably the best team in the conference, and you somehow come out victorious, it changes the whole trajectory of your season. You can get hot from that point on, and next thing you know, we look up and the Dolphins have won 6 straight. You lose this game, you fall to 0-3. The sky is continuing to fall because it was already falling before this game. And so if you're Buffalo, I talked about this opportunity earlier. I said, you have a legitimate opportunity to put a stranglehold on this division in week 3. This shit sounds crazy, but this division could be over by the month of October. Like, we get to the end of September, 4 games are in the books, and you could be 4-0 in Buffalo, and the rest of the division is either 1-3 or 0-4. The Patriots might be the next best team in the division. The Jets are probably going to be 1-2 after this week. The Patriots could be 2-1 going. They're at home versus the Steelers, but they could easily lose that game, drop to 1-2. I don't know who any of these teams are playing next week, but lose the game they're playing next week. The Dolphins, whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter because they can't be any better than 1-3 after starting the season 0-3. They could either be 0-4 or 1-3, and the Bills could be 4-0. And if that's the case, they're well on their way to clinching this division by Thanksgiving, which is crazy. But that's the state of this division right now. The AFC East stinks. Unless somebody else stands up and says, I'm going to at least keep the Bills honest. And whether that's the Jets, doesn't feel like it's the Jets, or the Patriots, feels like it's going to have to be the Patriots. And I just don't think they're ready for that task yet. This win by the Bills tonight puts them firmly in the driver's seat of a division that we all thought they were going to win before the season started. But we at least thought they were going to have to work for it somehow, some way. I don't know if any of us thought it was going to be the Dolphins that made them work. They kind of felt like they were in a rough spot, especially in their secondary, and they had more injuries tonight. But I don't know if we thought they would be this bad. I didn't think they would lose to New England last week, so I didn't have them at 0-3 at this point. I thought they could have won in week 1, right? I thought they would have won in week 1 against Indianapolis. They didn't. Okay, fine. You're on the road, tough spot. Go home, get you a win against New England, wipe the slate clean. Let's get back to work. They didn't do that. Now you go to Buffalo in week 3, you lose that game, you're 0-3. Bills are 3-0, and now they have this division in a stranglehold already, and we are not even through a month of football. And now we'll see what the Jets do on the road at Tampa without Justin Fields. Tyrod Taylor's going to get the start there. Doesn't feel like a great spot for them. And we're going to see what the Patriots do at home. They're 0-1 at home already this season with the loss to the Raiders, and what they're going to do against the Steelers at home. Right? Steelers coming off of a tough loss at home to the Seahawks. See what happens there. A couple of 1-1 teams looking to get to 2-1. See if the Patriots can make that happen at home. If they can't, Bills are sitting pretty, right? So big win for Buffalo. They get it done, and they just continue to make winning plays. I hate the roughing the kicker call. You know, I don't hate it from my perspective. I had the Bills for the survivor pool, right? Shout out to Boss Man. Boss Man tried to talk me out of picking them. Because remember, I told y'all earlier on the skill game, I had 2 games that I had circled as survivor pool candidates. To me, there were no other games but these 2, right? You had Bills, Dolphins, which I told you guys on the skill game. I think I either told you on the skill game or I told you on the kickback session. It was one or the other, right? I think it was the skill game that I told you. I had 2 games in mind. Bills, Dolphins were one of them. I didn't tell you what the other game was, but it was Tampa Bay and the Jets. Those are the only 2 games. I've seen, and in my mind, I've seen Tampa start off the season 2-0 because they do it every year under Todd Bowles. And then I saw them go home and get their asses whooped by Denver last year in the 3rd game of the season. And that just sticks in my mind. Like they were 0-2 were the Broncos at the time. And Bo Nix was struggling. That Broncos offense was struggling. And they went to a 2-0 confident Tampa Bay team, and they kicked their teeth in and beat them like 23-7. And that score doesn't even indicate just how dominant the Denver Broncos were that day. And I went, what? And so that just sticks with me. And so Boss Man was trying to talk me into Tampa Bay because that was his survivor pool pick. He took the Bucks. And I'm thinking, no Justin Fields. I don't even know what to make of that. That might be a good thing. Tyrod might give them a better shot to win this particular game. I don't know. But I just know that the Jets, even though I think they aren't very good, they could go on the road and surprise the hell out of somebody. And the Bucs could be, primed for a letdown. Baker, banged himself up a little bit on Monday night. He's good to go, but he could easily not finish the game. So, I mean, anything crazy could happen. It just didn't feel as safe as this game did, but this is family business. And you saw the shit I'm watching this thing intently like, are you effing kidding me? Of course, when I picked the Bills to be my survivor pick against a team that never beats them at home, they have this thing going basically to the wire. But in typical fashion, they found a way to get it done, and the Dolphins didn't. And that's what good teams do. That's what bad teams do. Bad teams find a way to lose games that are close. Good teams find a way to win games that are close. And thus, the Bills got it done. I don't have to worry about Sunday now. I can enjoy my football worry-free. Survivor pool pick in the bank. We move on to week 4. I did not make it to week 4 last year, as you all know. So I feel great that the Bills took care of business. But, of course, it was not without strife. It was not without a little bit of sweating, a couple of heart palpitations. But nonetheless, they got the job done. They're 3-0, and they continue to prove that they're one of the teams to beat in the AFC. So you go to the Dolphins side of things, and I think you got to start with Tua Tagovailoa, man. This team has weapons. You show me a team right now in the NFL that can put more speed and talent on the field offensively than these Dolphins. You show me a team. I'll wait. Because you may have more talent, but you don't have the combination of talent and speed. They've got a legitimate track squad between Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Devin Achane. You can't find me a trio faster, more dynamic, with the ball in their hands, without the ball in their hands, than those three. And yet Tua makes these guys look pedestrian because he's got a Chad Pennington pop gun arm. And anytime he tries to put any kind of velocity on the football, it just doesn't work. Either the shit sails like Tyreek Hill wide open on the sidelines on a bench route. And I'm talking about wide open. They're in the Bill defender within 5 yards of him in any direction. He catches this thing in bounds with ease, right? And if he's somehow able to get it to him where the ball doesn't take him out of bounds, it might be a touchdown. We know how Tyreek Hill is with that start and stop, and his acceleration is like 2 steps and he's running full speed. Like, there's no Bill around him. And he throws this shit 5 yards over his head out of bounds. You're like, man, Tua stinks. Tyreek Hill has a step on the Bills' defense. He's behind the entire defense. Tua loads up like he's going to throw this shit 60 yards. And that shit's like 10 yards short of Tyreek. He has to stop, then jump in the air and try to leap over 2 Bills to come down with the football on a play where he was probably behind them by a full 2 steps. And then to cap it all off, you're driving, 3 minutes left in the game. You're down a touchdown. Tua's pressing all the right buttons, but of course, with all the money on the table, right, with all of the marbles there, the game's on the line, throws it right to Terrell Bernard. Didn't see him. Great job of Terrell Bernard reading Tua's eyes. It took him straight to the football, right in front of Jalen Waddle, undercuts the route, picks it off. I've said this already. It's a tough place to be in the NFL when your quarterback position bottlenecks you, but it beats the alternative. It beats the alternative. You could be the Cleveland Browns searching and searching and searching for a quarterback. You could be the New Orleans Saints without a quarterback. You could be the Vegas Raiders without a quarterback. Like, nobody wants to be that team. You can be the New York Giants, right? One of these teams just searching. Every year, new quarterback. Every year, searching. That shit gets exhausting. It's exhaustive. It gets old. And nobody wants to go through that shit. So even when you have what is deemed to be a mediocre quarterback, but it's a franchise quarterback nonetheless, you're just going to hold on to him and you're going to pay him. They paid Tua because Tua is holding them hostage. Not because Tua's a good quarterback, but because it beats the alternative of being one of these teams out here on these quarterback needy streets. And that's a dangerous place to be. I've been there for many, not years, decades. Decades. I've had the occasional blip on the radar screen, whether it was Kirk Cousins for about a 3-year span, or it was Robert Griffin III for a year, or it was a combination of Alex Smith, this guy, that guy, Kyle Allen, all those guys for 1 year. And that shit was 7-9, but it won the division, but it was 7-9 nonetheless. It wasn't something to write home about. I've been there. Shit sucks. And so to avoid all of that, yeah, he's not great, but he beats poor. But you're going nowhere with Tua at quarterback. Fast, by the way. There's too much talent on this team. You can't maximize Tyreek Hill because Tua can't throw the ball more than 40 yards in the air. You can't maximize Tyreek Hill. You can't maximize Jalen Waddle. Poor Devin Achane is getting his bell rung and getting killed because Tua's throwing swing screen and dump down and check down after dump down, check down, and swing screen to this man. And if Alec Ingold could block, Devin Achane would have had 800 yards receiving tonight. But of course, in typical Miami Dolphins fashion, they don't do anything right. So of course, instead of Devin Achane catching a swing screen with nobody else but one defender on that side of the field with a lead blocker that would have escorted him to about a 50-yard gain, he gets mollywopped as soon as he touches the football for about a 5-yard loss. That's Miami Dolphins football for you. It's Tua Tagovailoa overshooting a wide-open Tyreek Hill with nobody around him. It's Tyreek Hill streaking down the field. You want to know why Tyreek Hill had his first 30 or more yard gain, or was it 40 or more yard gain last week for the first time since week 1 of last season? You want to know why? Because Tua Tagovailoa is his quarterback. That's why. And they had all those issues at quarterback last year. I'm aware. It doesn't matter. Tua stinks. Tua stinks. I used to cap for Tua, right? Cape for him. I used to sit here and be a Tua stan because I'm like, I watched him at Alabama. He can play. Tua's basic. He's basic. And it doesn't matter how much talent you have. If your quarterback position is basic, you don't stand a chance. Not when you play. You can beat, regular teams, normal teams, bad teams. You can beat those teams. You can't beat upper echelon teams with a basic quarterback. Unless the rest of your team is superhuman. Unless you got an all-world team around that basic quarterback, where all he has to do is the bare essentials. That is not what the Dolphins are putting forth on the football field. They need production from their quarterback, and Tua just isn't going to consistently give you what you need every week. I mean, what did he throw for tonight? The man threw 34 passes and had 146 yards. I mean, how many checkdowns and dump downs can you possibly have? How much run after the catch do you need from your receivers and your running backs to supplement your passing yards? Like, their offense is predicated on literally run after catch because Tua can't throw guys open down the field. Shout out to Mike McDaniel for, putting together an offense that accentuates Tua's skill set. Because just 2 years ago, we were talking about this offense like it was the next greatest show on turf. I mean, they were lighting up scoreboards. Remember they scored 70 points on the Broncos? Remember that? That's not that long ago. That's just 2 years ago. Like, the Dolphins were one of the most exciting teams to watch just 2 years ago. Tua was the quarterback. But everything is short underneath. And if he hits somebody deep, it's in timing and rhythm, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he's got to let it go early. He can't wait till a guy's streaking down the field 30 yards because he can't get it out there that far. So ultimately, it's tough if you're a Dolphins fan because what are you going to do? Move on from Tua? What are you going to do? What's your alternative? They're going to win some games this year. I looked at their upcoming schedule. I think I saw Panthers and Jets and all. They're going to win some games. It's not going to put them in a position to draft another quarterback if that's what you're thinking. Good luck with that, though. And look, I don't know how good of a coach Mike McDaniel is or isn't. I still can't figure out. Like, you'd have to talk to an actual Dolphins fan to get that kind of intel. I can tell you that thus far this season, and again, it's a small sample size, they've been undisciplined, right? A lot of penalties, a lot of, untimely errors. Tonight wasn't as bad. Last week was egregious. Like, they had no business losing that game at home. None. Not to the Patriots. But they couldn't get out of their own way. Tonight, it didn't feel as bad, but they had some, untimely penalties. Obviously, it's what they do. An eligible man downfield when they had a pass to the tight end and they were going to be down inside the 20-yard line. That negated that. On the opening drive, they had a penalty that set them back, but it didn't matter. They ended up scoring a touchdown. And then, again, we talked about it already. The roughing the kicker penalty, arguably the biggest penalty of their season to this point, because they had all the momentum. Literally, Uncle Mo was about to cop a squat on their sideline. He had just gotten up after they scored the touchdown and started to casually walk across the field. And then they get the 3 and out, and he's about to sit down. He's like, "Can I sit right here?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, please. By all means. Can we get you anything?" And right as he was going to sit down, roughing the kicker, he was like, "Oh, hold on a second. Is that running or roughing?" And they were like, "It's roughing." He was like, "Oh, gotta go. Sorry. Can I get those snacks to go?" And he walked his ass right back across that field, and he never came back. He never came back. And they had a chance, a legitimate shot to win this game without that roughing penalty. So they continue to really be a team that can't get out of their own way. And again, some of that is discipline or being undisciplined. Like, how much is that on Mike McDaniel? Don't know. That wasn't really the case tonight. Guy worked trying hard to block a kick. I usually don't get upset about guys trying to make a play. You just hate it on a 4th down when you're going to get the ball anyway. But you can't tell a guy, go try and block a kick. He tries to block the kick. He doesn't get it. And then he gets a penalty and it gives them a 1st down. You can't have it both ways. Can't be mad when a guy had a chance to block a kick, but he was too scared to try to block the kick because if he didn't get it and he ran to the kicker, it's going to give him a 1st down. And then out of the other side of your mouth say, go be aggressive, block the kick. He does that, doesn't block the kick, and he gets the penalty. You can't have it both ways. So it is what it is. Defensively, I actually thought the Dolphins weren't that bad tonight. For a team that has been gutted and gashed just all 3 weeks of the season, or at least the first 2 leading up to this game. Drake May was damn near perfect in the game on Sunday last week. 22 of 26, I believe, for 230-something. Like I said, he only had 4 incompletions, basically. He diced them up, did whatever he wanted to do. It was really good getting the ball to the running backs out of the backfield, to the receivers, etc. They ran it effectively against Miami. For as bad as they looked in week 1 against the Colts with turnovers and not being able to stop the Colts offense, or as bad as they looked at times against the Patriots, inability to get stops, giving up special teams touchdowns, all the damn penalties, etc. For as bad as they looked in those first 2 games, I thought the defense actually showed a pulse tonight. Now, they let James Cook run buck wild all over them. But that was really the thing that hurt them tonight. That and the tight ends, of course. That and the tight ends. But I thought they got some stops that kept them in the game. I thought that they did some really good things to neutralize Josh Allen a little bit. They got a little bit of pressure on him. They sacked him on one occasion, forced a field goal that the Bills ultimately missed. I thought they gave themselves a fighting chance in this game defensively. But unfortunately, when they got the stop when they needed to, and then special teams negated it, and you can't keep asking a defense that isn't all that great to begin with, has injuries in the secondary, had another guy go down, and now you can't keep asking them to come back on the field and do the thing that they already did. That's not fair to them. And so it was really tough, but that's a really brutal situation. You didn't have to give up a touchdown after the roughing penalty. You could have made them settle for a field goal, but you didn't. And that was another story of the game, was that Buffalo only once had to settle for a field goal. Otherwise, they got down there and they scored touchdowns. They scored 4 touchdowns tonight. And one field goal they settled for in the red zone. That was the one they missed right before half. But the one they kicked at the end, that felt like just, hey, dagger, game's over. Let's just make sure we put it away. They had no intent to score a touchdown there. But that was the biggest Achilles heel of the Dolphins tonight, was their inability to force the Bills to have to settle for a field goal. I thought they had a chance there. And I talked about these dumb penalties. They had Josh Allen stopped on a first down run, first and goal from about the maybe 2-yard line. He tries to run a quarterback draw. They snuff it out, tackle him for about a 2-yard loss, and somebody comes up late and kind of hits him on the pile, and now you got a personal foul penalty, and it's down to the 1-yard line. And, of course, they're going to run it in at that point with James Cook, and they did. Like, those are the kind of penalties that kill you. That could have been the start of you forcing a goal line stand or a decision for them to have to go for it or kick a field goal, and instead you just give them those yardage that they just lost and then some back, put the ball at the 1, and they get a touchdown. And that's the undisciplined stuff that I'm talking about. 2 weeks in a row, special teams have hurt the Miami Dolphins. 2 weeks in a row. Last week, you get a 80-yard punt return for a touchdown. Crazy, 70, 65, 80, whatever yardage it was from Washington. Malik Washington. It was a huge part of the game plan tonight, too. They threw it to him on that first possession right away. He was a big part of what they wanted to do. But he had the big return last week. The very next kickoff, the ensuing kickoff, you give up a 90-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. This week, your defense gets a big stop. It's 21-21. They just scored on the last possession offensively, did the Dolphins. They got all the momentum. They forced a 3-and-out defensively, and the special teams comes on the field and gets a roughing the kicker. That's loser football. That's what that is. Loser football. So tough situation for the Dolphins. They're now 0-3. And I think I saw Jets, Panthers. So they got some winnable games. Jets are next at home. Panthers on the road after that. Then they're home for the Chargers, at the Browns. So it lightens up for the next 2 weeks. Then after that, it's back to shit that doesn't feel realistic for them. Chargers don't feel like a win. Browns at Cleveland. We'll see what that one brings. At Dolphins, that's possible. That's a doable situation. I don't love it for you. Ravens at home, that seems like a murder, death, kill, homicide. Another Bills. And then the Saints. Like I said, they're going to win some games this year. That's the bad part. Like, probably going to beat the Jets, probably going to beat the Panthers. That'll get you to 2-3. Now you got hope again. Probably lose to the Chargers, but then you might be able to beat the Browns. Who knows? Could beat the Falcons. Who knows? You're going to lose to the Ravens. You're going to lose to the Bills the second time, get swept. Then you get the Saints. Why not? At the crib, right? Then you get the Jets again. Why not? So you're going to look up 6-7 wins. You'll be 10-11 in the draft. And again, that's kind of no man's land if you're looking for a quarterback. Meanwhile, the Bills are 3-0. Your next 3 games, home for the Saints, home for the Patriots. That's on Sunday Night Football. And then at the Falcons. Then you have the Panthers. Like, they could easily start this season off like 8-1. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they could easily start the season off like 6-1, possibly 7-0. Then they get the Chiefs in what looks like week 8, maybe. That'll be a big one. So, yeah, it's shaping up for the Bills pretty nice. It's shaping up for the Bills pretty nice. And the crazy part, if you're a team like Miami is, you suck in a year where you play the NFC South. That should be an opportunity for you to get right off of a sweet division like the NFC South. You should be looking to sweep that entire division. At worst, win 3 out of 4. You should be able to beat New Orleans, Carolina, and just split with one of the 2 teams at the top, Tampa and Atlanta. You should be able to, if you're good, you should feel like you should be able to beat Atlanta. And then Tampa is the one that could give you some trouble. Catch them at the right spot, right time, etc. You sweep that whole division. But instead, you stink and you're using that division just to try to get on the board. It's a tough situation to be in, but that's where you are. Unfortunately, that is where you are right now. So I made some picks for this game, and they did not work out for the kid. So we are going to talk about them, and we're going to do that by getting to the skill game, brought to you by Sleeper.
The skill game, brought to you by Sleeper.
All right. So Sleeper is a fantasy sports and real money gaming app that focuses on bringing people together through gaming and sports. Sleeper has become one of the fastest organically growing fantasy platforms in the world with over 6 million active users in 2023. I know that number has blossomed because of people like myself who now use this app and have so much fun engaging with others, engaging with these opportunities to put some money in my pocket. And I enjoy this so much that I've been showing you my picks, as you can see up on the screen. Do yourself a favor before we even get into any of this. Check the link that is in the description of this and every single video that I do. There you will find a link that will take you to somewhere where you can download this app called Sleeper. If Sleeper is available in your state, it is available in over 25 states. Download the app, put in the information, become eligible to make these picks, and have an opportunity to put some money in your pocket. And tell you what, you invest in the app and the app will invest in you. Use my promo code LTN to get 100% match on a deposit up to $100. That's right, a dollar for dollar deposit match. You put in $50, they're going to give you $50. You put in $100, they're going to give you an additional $100 to spend on the app. Just use the promo code LTN to get started. So this is what I did tonight. I put in 5 picks. As you can see, I hit none of them, but all of them were done in a manner that I felt confident about. I told you the one that scared me the most was Josh Allen at 227, because I said he did not play well against the Jets, and this could easily turn into a James Cook night where they're running the football effectively. What happened? This was a James Cook night where he ran the football effectively, 108 yards on 19 carries. Anyway, Josh Allen, as you can see, I thought this game was close enough where he would have to take over with his arm. I feared that they would blow out Miami. He wouldn't need to use his arm, just like they blew out the Jets, and he could just hand it off, and it'd be one of those type of games. But the Dolphins scoring early made me feel good about this 227.5 yards that I needed to have the over on, or more on, because it was going to force him to have to keep pace with them. They were scoring. He was going to have his offense score, and he was going to have to throw the football. But it just didn't happen. He was highly efficient tonight, 22 of 28, 213, 3 touchdowns, but there were pass interference penalties. Cook ran the ball really well. And so he didn't amass the yards. And like I said, the pass game for the Bills still, still feels like it's leaving a lot to be desired. But they get the win nonetheless. I don't, as Allen did not get the 227.5 pass yards that I needed. Keon Coleman, I felt good about him getting 4 because I said if Josh Allen is to surpass 227 yards, he's going to need to find Keon Coleman. And he threw it to Keon Coleman. There was a pass interference early in the game that Keon Coleman wasn't able to come down with. That would have helped me a lot. But he threw it to him enough. It just didn't happen. He ended up with 3 catches. I needed him to have 4. Just my luck. Riley Patterson. The Dolphins picked a great time to decide we're not kicking field goals tonight. We're just going to score a bunch of touchdowns. And I just kept waiting for that one possession where they'd end up having to settle for a field goal. It never happened. And so didn't get that. I told you I didn't love either of the kickers, though. Didn't I tell y'all before the game? I'm usually going to go with a kicker, but I didn't love either one of these kickers. I didn't love the situations that they were in, but I was going to pick one of them, and I wasn't going to go with the Buffalo kicker because the number he had was too high for me. So I went with Riley Patterson, and I fell short. He had 3 kick points because he only kicked 3 extra points. He kicked no field goals in the game. So didn't get that. James Cook, I started to go with catches. I think it was at 2.5. He had 3, so I would have hit there. And then I changed it to yards. So I'm like, man, he's going to get 13.5 yards. Yeah, right. He's going to get 14 yards. He did not. And he had 10. And it's crazy because on the first play of the game, I think he had like a 6 or 7 yard catch. So I'm like, oh, yeah, this is easy money. And it just didn't work, And then I started kicking myself because the Dolphins gave up rush yards last week. I told you guys that on the skill game earlier today, and I still managed to not go with my gut and just take James Cook in the. I love James Cook in an anytime touchdown, and of course he scored a touchdown, and of course he ran for 108 yards. And I tried to take the easy way out, and I still ended up crashing. And then Devin Achane, I sat there and I argued with you guys, with myself really, for 5 minutes about whether I should take Devin. I had initially, if you recall, if you were with me earlier, Devin Achane, I had him for the 5.5 catches, which meant he had to get 6. And I went in to submit my picks, and I got there and I said, man, I talked myself into, 6 catches is a lot. After already rationalizing that Tua is going to check the football down a ton because that's what Tua does, 6 catches is very doable. He had 8 last week. You're fine. Leave it alone. And somehow I talked myself into, well, what if he only has 5 catches, but he can get 42 yards? He can get 43 yards. All he has to do is catch 1 screen pass and he can go. So I talked myself into this. The man caught the ball 7 times tonight. Tua threw this man the ball more than he threw it to his receivers. There was only 29 yards attached to those 7 catches, however. Not the 42.5 that I needed, the more than. So 43 yards. So this is the first time I've done one of these and didn't win any of them. None of them. But I had good rationale behind them. But boy, oh boy. Your man needs a win. I'm hurting right now. Nothing's going right here for me. I gotta get. The good thing is this was a $10 bet, and that's what I love about Sleeper. This was a $10 bet with an opportunity to win $140.35. I just didn't get it done, right? I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. Right? I'm gonna come back here, gonna have the skill game for the Sunday night game, right? And we're going to come back and we're going to do it again. We're going to do it for the Commanders game. Have a skill game for that as well for Sunday's game. We're going to do it again for the Monday night game. That should be a doozy. Baltimore and the Lions. What? That should be fun. So I'm gonna get hot again. I'm back in my pocket. This time I did 5 picks. I liked all 5 of them. They just didn't come to fruition for me tonight. But the most important thing happened. Your boy won his survivor pool pick, and that's what matters. All right. So shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this stream. And once again, use the promo code LTN to get you a 100% match on a deposit up to $100. A dollar for dollar match up to $100. What are you waiting on? Get in the game, get the Sleeper app, and turn every day potentially into payday. So let's get back to this stream and your comments and see what you guys have to say. Start off with my guy, JP, John Perez. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, JP, writes, I like Tua a lot, but I think it's time to move on. He ain't that guy there. Too bad his cap is over the next 4 years, ain't allowing that to happen. Like I said, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. They committed themselves to Tua, and it didn't feel like the right thing in a moment when they committed themselves to Tua, just based off of the concussion history that he has. But again, in this league, either you have someone or you don't. And the teams that don't find themselves in a no-win situation. You can't win at all, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're Cleveland, you're screwed. I don't care how good your defense is. You're screwed because you don't have a quarterback. Every year you're looking for somebody. Every year you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that. They got screwed when they signed up for Deshaun Watson and he wasn't it. They got screwed, right? It feels like the Dolphins kind of put themselves in a position where they're kind of screwed because now you're locked in with Tua and it just is what it is, frankly, right? But it almost felt like they didn't have a choice. Like, you could talk all the shit you want about Dak Prescott, but if you're Dallas, what's the alternative? Let Dak walk, and what are you going to do? You're going to play the quarterback you traded for from New England? You're going to put him in the game? You already tried to trade for a young quarterback before and Trey Lance, and that shit didn't work. That forced you to give Dak a new contract, even when they didn't want to. You're stuck. Even if you don't love your quarterback, if he's a guy that can... That's why the Giants had to at least give Daniel Jones some sort of contract after he took him to the playoffs that first year with Brian Daboll, because what's the alternative? Don't bring him back and find yourself in a position where you got to go out here on these streets. Nobody wants to be on the quarterback streets. It's dark, it's cold, and it's a place that is so unforgiving. No one cares about your perilous state in the quarterback wilderness. Nobody cares. It's a lonely place to be. Even though there's probably company there, it's lonely as hell. And you can scream as loud as you want. Nobody's coming to save you. At least if you've got a guy, even if he sucks to the rest of us, at least you got a guy. You got somewhere to lay your head at night that gives you a fighting chance. Tua gives you a chance. And again, they'll beat the little sisters of the poor. They'll beat the teams that aren't very good, or at least they used to. That's why I thought they'd beat New England last week. That didn't happen. But they should beat the Jets next week. They should beat the Panthers the week after that. If they can't do that, then Tua's useless at that point. If he doesn't play well in those games, he's throwing picks like he did tonight in crucial situations, and you can't find a way to beat the Jets at home. You can't find a way to go on the road and beat the Carolina Panthers, then you probably need to pack Tua's ass up at this point. But like you said, kind of in a tough spot financially with him. You kind of locked yourself in. So you in it for the long haul. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Finn's going to be sellers. Washington should be on the phone with them if Chubb and Jalen Phillips become available. Need pass rush. I don't see us giving away any more picks. Like, I don't see us being in that market anymore. Now, it just depends on what the Dolphins are at. They're not going to just start giving guys away. That's not how the trade deadline works. If you get a good deal, you'll be willing to part ways with, one of those guys. You got to be careful with Jalen Phillips. He's, had injuries throughout his career, going all the way back to college. And he's already had a major injury here in the NFL. So you need to be careful with him. Chubb, same thing. He's had a major injury in the NFL, but he's also, a really solid pass rusher. But they're not just going to give those guys away. Teams don't give away pass rushers. So the Commanders aren't in a position to be giving away draft picks either. They don't want too many more of those 5 draft, classes like they had in 2025. They don't want too many more of those. That was an opportunity to go get guys that could not only help you that current year in Marshawn Lattimore, and this year giving up, picks to go get Laramie Tunsil because he's going to help you into the future, protect Jaden Daniels, etc. And he's going to be a guy that probably gets a contract to stay here, but also go get Deebo Samuel, right? But you don't want to keep having 5-player drafts. You don't keep doing that. So even though they want to win, you have to strike a balance between going after it now and attacking success for today, and also keeping the future bright. It's a fine line between that. You don't want to go full Sean McVay. They pulled it off, right? Attacking success, trading for Von Miller, trading for Jalen Ramsey, trading for Matthew Stafford, going and getting Odell Beckham Jr., going all in and winning a Super Bowl. It worked out for them. And then they still were able to draft all of the guys that we've seen on the defensive side of the football. It worked out for them. Young and Braden Fisk and what's my man's name? What's the edge rusher from Florida State? It worked out for them, but that's not how everybody's story ends. Normally, it's not how it ends. You want draft picks. You want young talent. You don't want your draft to start in the 3rd round. We already don't have a 2nd-round pick. We already don't have a 2nd-round pick. We don't have a 4th-round pick. So I can't see us giving away anything. We really don't have anything to give away, to be honest with you. I mean, unless it's a 3rd, and bro, you don't want to be out of the 2nd day of the draft. That's not ideal. Don't see that happening. Niners fan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Niners fan writes, Lou, I'm shocked. $100,000 is somewhere laughing. That he is. And I think I deserve that. I was really harsh. I killed him last week. And the football guy said, oh yeah? Really? Really? You don't say. Huh. Okay. You want to carry it like that? You sure? You want to do that? Final answer. Okay. Can't say I didn't warn you. And they humbled me. They humbled me really good. That was one of the worst video experiences I've had doing this in 13 years. That was rough. Not even gonna hold you. That was really bad. I don't want to do that again. So, and I can't promise you that I won't. Like, I got another sheet this week that could easily land me right back in the same seat I was in this week. I don't care. So I'm fearless now. That's the only thing that I can say good came of that. Now, it could be good, it could be bad. Like being fearless could also turn into being reckless. It's a fine line between fearless and reckless. I crossed it last week. Let's see if I cross it again this week or if I end up being fearless and it pays off for me. But yeah, I was the worst of the worst last week. On a week where people were getting 2 and 3 losses and 4, I somehow managed to get 9. Like, yeah, you worked really hard to do that, huh? But a lot of games came down to the wire. And then after going back and watching them all and seeing how those outcomes were reached, it just makes you even more frustrated that you ended up in that state because you were literally, that's the NFL though, right? If there's a 16 game slate, at least half, if not 2/3 of the games come down to the final 3 minutes where, teams make either mistakes to lose the game or team, makes winning plays down the stretch and wins the game, right? Case in point, Indianapolis, Denver. Indianapolis or Denver makes a play to lose the game with the leverage call. They lose the game after a kick is missed, and then they give the Colts a kick over again with no time left on the clock, 15 yards closer. And of course, they lose the game now. From 60-yard field goal to a 45-yard field goal, they lose. Well, that's how I lost a game. All you got to do is sack Baker Mayfield. That's it. 4th and 9, game over. They can't do it. He goes and he breaks their back. They win the game. Another loss for the kid. All Travis Kelce has to do, like he's done 10 trillion times in his career, is catch the football. Bounces off of his arms and into the arms of an Eagle defender. And they lose the game. All the referees have to do on a 4th and goal is call false start on 15 Eagles who are moving before the ball is snapped on a tush push. Then come back after the fact and say, oh, they have to call this tighter. That was definitely false start. You don't say. They've been doing that for 2.5 years now, and you still ain't called false start yet. You don't say. Doesn't matter. You lost that game too, buddy. All Chris Olave has to do is catch a pass wide open in the end zone. He doesn't. All their kicker has to do is make a kick. He doesn't. So the Saints lose against the 49ers. It happens. And so how about the Dolphins not give up a 90-yard kickoff return after taking the lead on a 65-yard punt return? You can't make this stuff up, man. Like, you just can't. The Jets, I deserve that. Like, I pressed the button too soon, but it was rough, man. I don't want to do that again. I'll say that, Niners fan. And yeah, $100,000, he probably opened up a bottle of $100,000 and took a shot to my demise. And it probably tastes delicious, that shot did. And it went down smooth. That was rough. That was rough, Niners fan. Yikes. But I remain as determined and resolute in my ability. I didn't tell you guys this. I had a dream that I won the chip. Just 2 days ago, I had a dream. I won the chip. Now, look, I don't know if it's going to come to a fruition. We have dreams every night. Okay? That's the first time I've ever had a dream that I won the winners and losers championship. Do you know, everyone loves a comeback story, right? Everyone loves a comeback story, a good comeback story. What would be better than from week 2 Piss Cup to eventual champion? What's better than that? I want that to be the final chapter of this season, is me hoisting the championship strap and celebrating. I want that to be me. And that's what I saw in my dream. So now I have to turn that dream into reality. I got a long way to go. But the beauty is I have a long way to go, but I also have a lot of time to get there. I don't have to rush. I don't have to get it all back next week. We still got 15 more weeks of this. 15 more weeks of this. 16 if you count this week. So I digress. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Pink. Yeah, baby. He says, Lou, here is your cut of the boxing winnings. Hot take, Marcus Mariota has a passing touchdown before Jalen Hurts. I think the Bills are scary. Tua got, but I lived the fight. Bill for 2 touchdowns on Sunday. You, my friend, first of all, thank you. I appreciate you. You, my friend, are assuming that Marcus Mariota starts on Sunday. I, however, am not. I think Jaden Daniels, and I've been telling y'all this since the MRI was reported that he had an MRI given to him, and that, you know, there was a sprain of the knee. And I said, everyone's like, oh yeah, just give him a couple of weeks off. And I'm like, bullshit. I think he's playing on Sunday. I could be wrong. I don't care either way, honestly, right? I trust this staff so much so that whatever decision they make, I know is in the best interest of Jaden and the team. And so if they put him out there, that means Jaden is fine. And they feel like he's not hampered in any way, shape, or form. Of course, he's going to be a little bit. He's going to probably have a knee brace on, etc. But they feel like he can do everything that they need him to do on the football field. If they don't think he can, not sure if he can protect himself, can't run like he needs to, can't do the things that they need him to do, they're not going to put him out there. That's why you got Marcus Mariota. But assuming that Jaden plays, Mariota won't have a passing touchdown before Hurts. But if he plays this weekend, you might not be wrong, because that Rams defense, pretty damn good. We'll see. The Bills are scary, right? They can get got now. We saw Baltimore kicking their teeth in week 1. But that's a scary team. The Bills, this is the beauty of the Bills. Championship medal. Been there, done that. They're in full, just like Baltimore, they're in full Super Bowl or bust mode. Nothing else will do. They've done the whole 14 wins in a regular season, #1 seed, all that good stuff. I don't know if they've had the #1 seed with Josh Allen. I don't know if they've ever had the #1 seed. I know they've had the #2 seed. Not sure if they've ever had the #1 seed. I know Baltimore had it 1 year, and usually the Chiefs have the #1 seed if it's not Baltimore. I think they've been the #2 seed, however. And I said this the year, I think it was 2 years ago, when they were the 2 seed, and they let Mahomes come into their building and beat them. And then Mahomes went the following week to Baltimore, who was the 1 seed, and beat them in the AFC Championship game. And that was the year. That felt like the year. Well, maybe that year is this year. Right? Maybe they finally get the #1 seed, finally skip past wild card weekend, don't have to deal with that shit, don't have to run into Kansas City until, you know, the championship game. And this time, instead of them having to go to Arrowhead like they always do when they play Kansas City in the playoffs, they got to come to the Chiefs have to come to them. But this time, they're at home, they're prepared, and it's in the AFC Championship game. We'll see. Obviously, I just told you 2 years ago, the Chiefs came to Buffalo and they still beat them, right? So, Tua ain't it. He ain't it. But again, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. I love Bill for 2 touchdowns on Sunday. I love that. I can see that happening. Definitely see that happening, Mr. Pink. Thank you for the super chat and your support, as always. So, let's see. Hank Midas says, has Tua reached his ceiling? I think so. I guess you could say yes. I mean, that offense they had a couple of years ago when they felt like the most dynamic and explosive and fun offense in the league. Yeah, I guess that was his ceiling, I guess. I can't see him being much better than that. So I would say yes. I would say yes. John Wynn says, Tua's awful. Mike McDaniel's coaching is terrible. Tyreek Hill is angry. All three of those need to go. Look, Tyreek is at the point of his career, and I don't feel bad for him. I don't. He chose Miami, right? He wanted to be closer to home. He went after the money because he had already won a Super Bowl. So you made your bed, now you got to lie in it. I don't feel bad for him. They suck. Your quarterback sucks. You chose them. Now you got to deal with the consequences. I don't feel bad for him. John Wynn says, what was in that glass you were drinking this morning? Because I was like, dang, you a good man. While you were coughing this hard during your LTN week 2 video. You don't want to know what I was drinking. You don't want to know. Just know it was disgusting, and I never, ever want to do that again. I'll just say that. I will just say that. And I'll give you a hint. It wasn't juice. Okay? Hank Midas. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Or thank you for the comment. He writes, fire sale in Miami during the trade deadline. Who do you think will be available? It's hard to say. We're still almost 6 weeks away from the trade deadline. You got the rest of this month and you got all of October before we get to the trade deadline. Who knows? The Dolphins could be back in the wild card chase at that point. They got 2 games that are winnable over the next 2 weeks. You win those, you get hot, you start playing with some confidence. Who knows? We look up and they've won 4 straight. They're 4-3 and they're back in the mix. We can't say that they're going to be sellers at the deadline yet. And just because you suck, this is not baseball. Just because you suck 1 year doesn't mean you start trading away all of your good football players. Good football players are how you attract a good head coach if they are to move on from Mike McDaniel. You can't get rid of all of your good football players and all of your assets. Because if I'm a coach, obviously someone's going to take the job. But if I'm a high-level prospect as a head coach, I'm not coming there if you don't have any talent. Part of the allure of a job is the players that are already there. So I don't know about giving away all your stuff. Sheree says, hey, Lou, how do you feel about the Rams-Eagles game, Cowboys-Bears game play out? I have the Rams beating the Eagles. I think that's going to be a low-scoring physical affair. The Eagles usually come out on top in those games, and the key in that game will be, can the Rams slow down Saquon Barkley? They could not last year. That was the difference in those 2 matchups when they played in the regular season last year in LA and when they played in the playoff game in Philadelphia in the snow. They couldn't stop Saquon. They couldn't stop Saquon. And you had the big fumble. They had turnovers. Both games, you had big fumbles by running back Kyron Williams. So you can't turn it over and you can't let Saquon go crazy. They shut down Jalen Hurts in that playoff game last year. And the way that the Eagles are playing offense right now and the way the Rams are playing defense right now, they could shut down that Eagles offense again. The question is, can the Eagles find alternative ways to score all the while? Because I'm looking at that Eagles secondary. I still think it's a weakness. The Rams have the type of receivers that will exploit that in Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. So the way I'm looking at the Rams setup, I'm like, the Eagles could be in some trouble this week. I got the Rams winning that game. As far as the Cowboys-Bears game go, I got the Bears winning that game. Now, I could easily see the Cowboys winning that game, and that could ultimately be a mistake that backfires and blows up in my face. I don't see the Bears dropping to 0-3. I think they're better than that. And I do think that the Cowboys defense is something that Ben Johnson can exploit. And I don't think the Bears defense is as bad as Detroit made them look. Now, they got some injuries, and I don't know if some of those guys are going to be able to play, like Jalen Johnson, etc. That could hurt them. But if the Giants can do what they did to Dallas, and remember, until that fourth quarter happened and all that offensive fireworks took place, the Cowboys were being shut down offensively in that game by the Giants defense. Again, I'm not saying that the Bears defense is as good as the Giants defense, because I'm not sure if that's the case, especially the defensive front of the Bears. It's not as good as the Giants defensive front. But I do think that the Bears have enough defensively to slow down Dallas's attack. And if they can do that, I think they can score against Dallas's defense. And they don't have to do a ton, but I think they can do enough to win. I got the Bears winning that game. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm about to get out of here. I digress. Bills get it done 31-21 over the Miami Dolphins. Get to 3-1 on the season, or 3-0, excuse me, on the season. Really start to create some distance between them and everyone else in the division. The Patriots are the only hope, really. I mean, the Jets, theoretically speaking, could go to Tampa. That's improbable, and win with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. But it feels like they're going to fall to 1-2. Feels like the Patriots are the only hope at home against the Steelers. That's, a coin flip game. But they're capable of winning at home against the Steelers to get to 2-1. If they don't, the Bills see that same Patriots team in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken, or it might be next week on Sunday Night Football. I think it's in week 5. They see the Patriots. So they have a chance by week 5 to have a win over every team in the division. Every team in the division. And they could easily, by week 5, be 4 games clear of everyone in that division. They could be 5-0, could the Bills, and everyone else could be 1-4 or worse. The Dolphins could be 0-5. I don't see them losing to both the Jets and the Panthers, but still, it could get dark for that entire division very quickly. They took care of business tonight, did the Buffalo Bills. Meanwhile, the Dolphins continue to shoot themselves in the foot. Had a chance with the game knotted up at 21, with them having all the momentum. They were set to get the ball back. They roughed the kicker. Don't know if I love the call, but it's the call nonetheless. And that gave the Bills the football, new life. They go down, score a touchdown, and take the lead and never relinquish it in the game. Tua with a late back-breaking pick with just over 3 minutes to go in the game. And that pretty much spelled doom for the Dolphins' chances in this game as they fall 31-21 and drop to 0-3 on the season. But more importantly, 0-2 in the division. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, saw a lot of speed. He says, Lou, saw a lot of speed on the offenses tonight. Need that bad in burgundy and gold. Tired of the slow. I mean, you get opportunities. That's what Jalen Lane's supposed to be for us, right? A guy that can flat out fly and run. They got to showcase that. They got to give him opportunities, right? They're not doing some of the things we saw them doing tonight with Moore, right? That was a guy that we all looked at and said, hey, why we can't go get Moore, right? He was just sitting out there on the streets chilling. I loved Moore coming out of Ole Miss. Why we can't go get him? He can run. You can do some things with him. Well, they drafted a guy that's supposed to have a similar skill set in Jalen Lane. They just got to utilize him in that way, in that fashion. So, all right, Bill can move. He can scoop. He can make some plays. Got to put him on the field to allow that to happen. So, eventually, we'll get there. We'll add more team speed. That's a process that happens over time with draft picks. That's why, like JP was saying earlier, hey, we the Dolphins are having a fire sale. I'm like, hey, we can't keep giving away draft picks. Y'all want to add team speed, this, that, and the third. You can't keep giving away draft picks. Can't keep doing that. Got to start adding young talent, young, cheap labor. So, yeah, I would like to see some of that speed added to the burgundy and gold as well. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Anyhow, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Thursday Night Football Overtime. Bills improved to 3-0 in the season with the 31-21 victory over the Dolphins, who dropped to 0-3. Bills now 2-0 in the division. Conversely, Dolphins 0-2 in the AFC East. More questions swirl around Mike McDaniel and his job security. Meanwhile, the Bills continue to separate themselves from the rest of the division. It's good. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I will chop it up with you tomorrow. Lots coming down the pipeline tomorrow on the channel. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. God bless, and good night. Peace. Charlie, I would start Juwan Johnson. If you're in a PPR league, I would start Juwan Johnson.